or recorded session. So taking into the consent of every consent of people on the call, I'm just going to be recording, and so we can also provide access to this recording after this time. I would also like to give you just a quick walkthrough of what our agenda looks like for today, just to understand. So I'm currently looking at the introductions and practically also doing this with my colleague here, Muyemi, where you could see his reactions. And after that, I think we're just going to go straight in the next 2 minutes into the business of the day, which is really looking at C# from a standpoint of career, or maybe a startup opportunities, the kind of projects, the kind of impact, and also hear a number of personal stories in terms of learning. What kind of learning resources can you have access to? What is the applicability of C# in this age? What are the kind of trends that we are beginning to see? What kind of projects can you work on if you're a C# champ, or if you're trying to develop your competence or your skill in the use of C# as a programming language? What are the learning opportunities that you can have, and how do you also have access to these learning opportunities, and what kind of projects even can you contribute to from an open source standpoint? So our speaker, I know, is well pumped up to be able to share some of this additional insight. Part of the things that we do again is to say, whilst the questions and answer time would come on later after the speaker session, please feel free to drop in your questions into the chat space, or you could also make use of the Q&A function built into Microsoft Teams for the event. But either way, just try as much as possible to drop your question. And when it's time for questions, then we can give you an opportunity to turn on your camera or turn on your audio, your microphone, and you could actually put your question out to the speaker. And so that's just to give you a wrap through, a rundown of what the entire event would look like. And like I said, it's strictly 1 hour. So our goal is to make sure that by 5 p.m., 1700 plus West Africa time, UTC +1, we are able to round off and call it a day. So without taking so much of the time, I'm going to just go straight to welcome our speaker, Joshua Chioma, who is going to be speaking to us. And Joshua is a software engineer on the client fundamental teams at Microsoft. He works out of Lagos, and he's got a lot of experience when it comes to, building solutions and also solutions for enterprise. He's got a lot of experience when it comes to the application of technology from a problem-solving standpoint, and how he uses various programming languages and tools and frameworks to help organizations to be able to achieve their kind of goals and also impact. So without taking so much time, I'm just going to hand over to Joshua. And Joshua, please, you have the floor for the next 20 minutes, and please just go ahead and take it away. I think your microphone is muted.
All right, my apologies for that. Thank you very much, today. Hi, everyone. My name is Joshua Chioma. I am here to talk about C#. I am a software engineer on the client fundamentals team here at ADC West. I am a dark-skinned African male, currently wearing a burgundy-colored T-shirt and jean pants. And I'm extremely excited to speak to you about C#. All right. I just want to confirm. Can you see my screen? Just to confirm. See the presentation. Great. All right. So C#. What exactly is C#? Everybody has been shouting C#, C#. Why should I jump onto C#? What can I do with C#? I'll just starting with what C# is. All right. I love to associate words like modern, general purpose, and extremely futuristic without failing to use the word powerful. I'd like to think of C# as a complete language that can be used to write anything or develop any softwares at all, any applications at all in any industry or profession. Talking about history, C# was developed by Anders Hellsberg in the year 2000. Well, officially released in 2000, but had some here and there speeches around the late 1999, around December. But then it was officially released in 2000. I'd like to think of C# as a combination of languages on steroids. C# is drawn from C, where it takes its speed, drawn from C++, where it takes its object-oriented programming, VB for easy UIs, and then Java for garbage collection and management. Now, C# now has improved garbage collection and management. So it's safe to say C# is all those languages on steroids. So it took out the best part of the languages. Yes, the bad parts of languages made them better, and compounded them into one language. You can build just anything with C#, anything at all, like I mentioned earlier, in whatever industry or profession you are. From the AR, the mixed realities, that's augmented reality and virtual reality, you can build anything, any applications there, to mobile applications using Xamarin Forms. Now there's the Maui framework that targets both the mobile applications, cross-platform mobile applications, and the desktop applications. Initially, there was the WinForms and the WPF. WinForms had some limitations around being static designs, but then WPF came as a major improvement to WinForms, where you have dynamic applications, still desktop applications, but then you can implement animations there. To web applications, you can build websites, you can build, like I said, anything at all with C#. Now, fun fact, C# was originally named Cool. That's the C# object-oriented or C-like object-oriented language. But then due to some patents and name restrictions, they had to move with C#, pronounced as C#, just like the sharp in music. Now, the current version of C# is 11, which was released this November. C# has grown from version 1, which was released in 2000, to 11, which was released this month, growing along the line, making better, faster, and more efficient, readable, extremely readable. Extremely readable. Okay. All right. So this is a sample C# syntax. The using statement, which enables you take advantage of a lot of libraries packed into one name. So just like you have the namespace hello world, system is also a namespace. Now, system has a compilation of millions of methods in it, from data types like string to integers to double decimals to date time. Even in date time, you still have you want to get month specific data, or you want to get time specific data, you want to get year specific data, or even down to the tick ticks. You can get that within the system namespace, down to getting arrays. You want to use arrays, you want to use collections, where you use the system.generics.collections or collection.generics for list. Using the using statement helps you take advantage of everything under the system namespace. So, for example, I probably have an application and I want to import everything around all my methods built inside the Hello World program class in this case. I can import that whole project using the namespace, using Hello World, and I can access all functions or methods within that particular program. Now, comparing to C++. For C++, I have to go create a header file, import it into my application, include. Sometimes I might forget, and then I run into some errors. C# makes all of that extremely, very, very easy. Now we get to ask, why would I be talking about C#? Why would I be preaching C#? Why am I excited about C#? And then I ask, why won't I be excited? Why not? Why won't I be excited about C#? C# is extremely easy to learn for me. Extremely, very, very easy to learn, and extremely simple. Simple and easy to learn because C# provides structure. there is a structure to C#. It's not just any that kind of language that I just write, and there are a lot of structures to it. It follows design patterns, built-in design patterns. There are a lot of, like I said, on when you're using the system, using system namespace, there are a lot of there are a lot of libraries that are embedded inside system that you don't even know, but they are just there for your use. C# is very, very open source. In the past years, C# was limited to just the Windows platform. It had to be .NET framework dependent. But right now, C# can work across all platforms, all OS platforms. Take it to Mac, it will work there. Yes, it used to work in Linux, but then you have to install another tool for you to be able to install applications built with C#, maybe exe applications. But now with .NET Core, you can deploy across different OS. C# is extremely fast. Extremely fast. Recently, .NET 7 was released, and good thing about .NET 7 is they say the .NET 7 is 11 times faster than Node. Node is a pretty fast, lightweight language, but then C# has been made. C# now 11 is way, way, way faster than Node. Extremely very fast, and it's also lightweight. Not compared to how it was before, extremely lightweight now. Now, C# is also implements garbage collection. If we've never heard about garbage collection, I would like to paint a picture of smart TVs. Now, for smart TVs, if any of us uses smart TVs, we'll notice that after there's some sort of inactivity, after a particular period of time, the smart TV either pops up a warning asking if it should go off, or sometimes it just goes off due to inactivity. C# garbage collection does that. Yes, Java has garbage collection. Yes, definitely. But the garbage collection on C# is better than Java. It's like I said, it took a lot of things from C, C++, VB, and Java, took the best and the worst and made it better in C#. Garbage collection for C#, if I'm trying to use an object and I do not have I decide not to reference that object anymore, or there is no reference for that object anymore, C# automatically clears that off memory. You have space for some other things to work. C# also has the type safety or memory safety. I would use a child and an adult for that example. Imagine a child that is probably, let us say, give it 4 years old, and you are trying to assign a job or duty that is meant for a 50-year-old human. Definitely there's going to be some problems because the child either doesn't have the experience or the strength to accomplish that particular task. Now, C# also has that function inbuilt. You want to assign a string to an integer variable. C# automatically throws one. It doesn't wait for you to go and compile anything. No. It's or get to production and then maybe publish, and then it starts throwing errors. It doesn't do that. It warns you ahead of time. It has that inbuilt function. C# is well documented, extremely documented, which makes it very easy to learn. There's enough documentation. There's enough structure to it. There's a process to everything you want to learn using C#. Also, C# has an active and vibrant community. C# is everywhere. We have books or articles being written about C#. every single day. The good things about C#, support the older things, older knowledge you need to get. It's still active, it's still there in the market, and it's still very, very much in use, even in newer versions of C#, although more efficient. I've spoken about speed, and now let's go to flexibility. Initially, I said you can build just anything to you can build just anything using C#, from mobile applications using Xamarin Forms to web applications, to gaming systems. For example, there's a famous game that almost everybody might know about, Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was built with C# using Unity and C#. Unity is the gaming engine, and they used C# to develop that, even down to AR using Microsoft HoloLens and C#, down to machine learning, building models with the ML.NET. Now ML.NET has some integrations with Apache Spark, where you can take advantage of the models there and build on top of them using C#. Down to backend services, APIs. C# supports APIs built in REST, GraphQL, web services, whichever one you want to, gRPC, whichever one you deem fit, to websites, to applications for Windows stores, to everything. Literally, you can do just about anything with C#, just about anything. You can become a game developer, you can be an AR engineer, you can become a data engineer if you wish so, you can become an AI engineer, you can become a backend engineer, whatever you want to do with C#. A lot of companies use C#, especially for their enterprise applications, especially around because of security and speed and efficiency and scalability. And with that, there are a host of other things you can do with C#, right? And also, the future is really bright for C#. Why do I say this? Microsoft has invested and keeps investing in the development of C#. So we are sure, and we all know that Microsoft is a standard, well-rooted, and long-lasting company. It has stayed through time, it has advanced through time, it has always stayed relevant. So for them investing in C#, we definitely know that C# is not going to stop at where it is right now. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'll be waiting for your questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for that, Joshua. I think one of the things that I've seen people, I mean, this is just like before we start having the questions come up. One of the things that I've heard people really talk about in past years is just a bit of some of the challenges that people do face when it comes to learning the skills, right? And I think we did hear this during the last session we had for the C++ session as well. And maybe you want to just like, speak to that a little in terms of what kind of personal challenges have you had to face when you were trying to learn C#, and what do you think people can actually also look out for? And, maybe you have links that you want to share right now. How do you think people can also approach, solving these challenges from a scaling standpoint, and maybe their communities or recommendations? I think if you could, whilst we wait for the questions to start coming up, I think it would be nice if you could speak to that later as well.
All right. So for me, I started my .NET journey in 2008. I already had some intro into C and C++ and some Java, but when I jumped up to C#, especially because there was an IDE for it. Yes, there was an IDE for Java NetBeans then, and some command lines for C++. But then I got interested in working with C#, especially WinForms at that time, because there was the drag and drop feature. It was easy to just double click on a particular. You drop it on your form, double click on a button, put in your logic, and your application works very fine. Extremely very fine. Like I just loved C# then. Immediately I took up C#. Now, I mentioned a limitation initially of C# being limited to the .NET framework, closed source then. At that time, mostly you won't see a lot of applications out there being built with C#. Mostly used especially in Nigeria, in the Nigerian space, mostly used in the banking sector. Over time, Microsoft has made C# very, very open source. There were limitations around availability or some things around being easy to learn. Yeah, at that time it had a harder learning curve, but now because there are a lot of materials on the internet, Microsoft itself has a platform for that. Learn.microsoft.com. You can get any information about C# you want, about the methods, the properties of a particular method. Initially, it was MSDN, but it has upgraded. There are a host of things, like millions of things that you want to learn that are available on the internet right now for C#. So the community is really, really strong. You would hardly jump into any problems when writing with C#. There's nothing you want to do in C# that I believe nobody has done before. So there's a lot of support for it.
Awesome. So I was just putting in the link. I mean, you had talked about the link at london.microsoft.com. So I was just trying to put the link in the chat space for people as well. And I'm taking a cue from some of the questions also we got from the previous session, right? In modern times, I mean, when I say modern times, I mean more recent years, right? It's not like, I mean, not like some medieval period. So I'm talking about in more recent years, there have been a lot of controversial conversations and lots of talks. And you also alluded to some of them. You mentioned them briefly. Or people talking about C# being difficult, you know, to learn and some of those things. But there's also the other part of people being very curious to say what is the economic value from a scaling standpoint. So how would you position this in a age whereby somebody would rather go ahead to learn the skill that they think it's easier for them to learn, and it's also probably more in high demand? So how would you look at an economic value of C#? And in cases whereby people are being discouraged or they just don't find that economic value near to them, how do you think they can begin to source opportunities for them? Because economic relevance is very important. I mean, if you're learning a skill, you want to be able to see how the skill translates into financial rewards for you. Really, I mean that's very logical. So in cases where people cannot see the clarity in terms of this of their aspirations and why they should be committed to developing C#, developing expertise in C#, what kind of direction do you think they should look into? Are there opportunities for them to be part of projects? Are there certain kind of projects that they need to start looking at doing? Are there, I mean, kind of roles that they need to start expanding to? Where do you think people can find that kind of economic relevance? And what kind of tips can you share with them when it comes to developing competence in C# and also being able to apply it for personal prosperity and impact?
Okay, so I'll be starting with now for every language at all, there are some basics you need to learn. Any language at all. There are things like data types, things like the primitive or the primitive data, the value types and all of that. There are also design principles that you need to learn, basic stuff. Now for and all these things are available on the internet. Like I said, C# is an object-oriented programming language. It treats everything as objects. You'd have all this information on the internet. Now, for economic value, when I say C# is an all-rounder, I mean it in every sense of the word. We'll take an example of JavaScript. For you to be able to achieve a lot of things in JavaScript, you must have learned this particular framework. There are millions and one JavaScript frameworks, literally millions and one JavaScript frameworks, but you only need to learn C#. Only need to learn C#. You can do every other thing with C#. You can create responsive web applications with C#. Now there's Blazor. You don't even necessarily need to know about JavaScript. Maybe some knowledge, but it's not compulsory that you know about it. You know a lot about JavaScript. Write your C# code, translate to web applications. You can be a web developer. You can be a web application developer. You can build mobile applications, and C# is an extremely sought after language, especially in the financial sector, especially the banking sector, especially because of its the security around .NET. It's a sought after language, so you can work in any sector at all using C#. Although I'll say you can work in every sector, there are some sectors that are particular that you are sure that you'd explore C# or C# is mainly used, probably around building desktop applications, building gaming systems using Unity, AR and VR, new HoloLens, and web applications. I can say the average in if I put it in dollars, the average salary of a .NET engineer, even if it's a junior engineer, in probably US dollars, can be ranging from $45,000 upwards, probably to some $60,000. It is extremely, and the good thing is C# is always wanting to be better. Microsoft always wants to make C# better. So there's a lot of ground, there's a lot of space to explore. There are a lot of possibilities. There's an endless list of possibilities using C#. You can build voting applications. You can build banking systems, core banking systems using C#. You can build data pipelines using C#. Or reports using C#. A host of multiple realities, multiple possibilities out here.
Awesome. I think before I go next to another question that I was going to put, there's a question I'm currently seeing in the chat space, and like I said to you 2 weeks ago, we had a lot of people that were C++ champs, right? And it was very interesting. I think for the very first time myself, it was during the call last week, during the session a fortnight ago, that I got to know that YouTube was built up of C++, right? So I mean, people from the previous sessions also do have some questions around, if I have a background in XYZ, how long do you think I might need to devote in terms of hours or resources to be able to develop some expertise in C++? So there's a similar question to this right now, and the question is, how long would it take for someone with a C++ background to develop C# skills to mastery level?
All right. So, like I said, for every language, there are basics you need to learn for every language right now. In C++ is very object-oriented. Extremely is also object-oriented. C# took that from there. It's also very object, although complex, but it's also object-oriented. With the knowledge of C++, I wouldn't say it should take you up to between 6 or 8 months to 1 year to get complete mastery of C#. It wouldn't take you up to see 8 months to 1 year to get mastery of C#, especially well, it also depends on your level of knowledge in C++. Depends on that too. Also, something I forgot to mention, one of the applications that have been built or was built with C# is the Visual Studio that all of us use right now. Most people use Visual Studio right now. Visual Studio was built with C#. Visual Studio's code, no. because of the cross-platform nature of C# that was built in Electron, but Visual Studio was built in C#, which is something that almost everybody uses.
Awesome. So, I mean, taking your response into consideration, yes, there's basically the idea that where you are at C++ might play a very significant role in how long it might take you for you to develop expertise or develop some level of mastery where you become comfortable to say, okay, well, I'm an expert at C sharp. And I think that makes sense. 8 months to 1 year, I think. So now, I mean, I'll build the next question off that response. If you think about this, because we have majority of people here who are probably from Nigeria, Ghana, or even from Kenya. That's why we have the majority of the people here. And when you think about the investment that it might take an individual to in terms of time and resources to be able to develop this competence over 8 months, you're going to be looking at a lot. So what tips do you have for people who are interested in this kind of journey, and how do you think those tips can help to soften or reduce the demands that might have on their purse, on their pocket? Are there places they could find? Yes, you've talked about the links, but we know that some people are practically not. Are there communities that they could, C sharp communities that you know of? Are there particular kind of books? Are there kind of places that they could find arcs? What kind of tips do you think can make that 8 months to 1 year journey easier and also reduce the burden that people might have? Or are there organizations that are looking out for programs? I mean, what kind of resources do you think exist that you might be able to share with people on the call today who are interested in pursuing this journey, but then based on the kind of peculiarities that they are faced with, maybe in Nigeria or in Kenya, they might not be able to afford all of those resources? How do you think that journey can be easier for them when it comes to learning?
Okay, so I'll start with what can make your journey. The first thing that will make your journey easy is your mindset. A lot of people are not open to change, whether it's good or bad. A lot of people are not open to change, but you need to keep an open mindset when learning any language at all. Like I said earlier on, C# is very easy to learn because there are resources, countless resources, and the community is huge and it is very structured. You just need to open up your mind. You have learning communities like Pluralsight. There are a lot of courses on Pluralsight, even down to YouTube. You can see some resources on YouTube. For communities, there's a C# developer community. It's called csharpforums.net. You can look that up. There's also C# Corner. There's also LinkedIn Learning. There's also .net.microsoft.com where you'd see the modern open source programming language for .net and meet other community members. And like I mentioned earlier on, there's the learn.microsoft.com. There are a lot of authors on or channel owners on YouTube that speak about C#. One is our very own Scott Hanselman. He has a lot of things about C#. There's also Ahmed Mosh. There are a lot of them on YouTube that you can reach out to.
So thanks a lot for that. So there's also another question here in the chat space, and I know that so this question is practically from a user interface standpoint, right? So I know that a number of people, I mean, people basically, if you're a developer or a software engineer, you also want to be able to play around familiar developer spaces or or platforms. You want to be able to leverage your pre-existing knowledge, the investments you've had in time. I mean, for example, you've used 8 months to 10 months or 12 months to develop some expertise. You're now at a point whereby you're also trying to look at a user interface framework that is cross-platform. And at this point in time, you're considering, I mean, the Avalonia UI, and you're also now looking at the .NET
Maui.
Yeah, you're looking at the .NET multi-platform app UI. My question is, where do you think there's the difference? Is there any difference? Why do you think somebody will be gravitated towards .NET MAUI and maybe they might be going towards Avalonia? What have you got to say to that?
Okay, so first of all, MAUI is owned by Microsoft. Yeah, not like Avalonia UI that is built on the concept of built on Microsoft technology, yes, but is owned by another company. That is one one of them. Being that, it means Microsoft is like I said, MAUI is owned by Microsoft, so it's technically going to be open source. Yeah. Avalonia is majorly a desktop UI framework. Majorly, not compared to MAUI that is targeting one code base, is targeting both Android and iOS, and then the desktop interface too.
Oh, okay. So if I mean, and I might be lame at this question I'm about to ask. I mean, just looking at what you've just said. So I'm assuming that both of them are sort of .NET Foundation projects, right? So why are they now like why are there now like different, I mean, multi-platform frameworks? I mean, is it because some kind of obvious advantages over the other? Are there advantages that are being spelled out? Yes, you've mentioned the fact that MAUI is developed by Microsoft, even though Microsoft also pushes out Avalonia, but it's sort of more like a different company. The question is from an application standpoint, okay, are there more similarities than more differences?
Well, like again, like I said earlier on, MAUI is owned by Microsoft, which means there are active plans on improving improving the platform. Avalonia is just built on Microsoft technologies. Imagine you are building Avalonia with maybe C++ or VB or something. You are just building it based on a language that is built by Microsoft. Yeah. Well, the major difference for MAUI between MAUI and Avalonia, apart from the support that Microsoft is going to give or has for MAUI, is that it's just around the platform. MAUI targets the desktop applications, more of the desktop applications, Avalonia targets more of the desktop UI, while the MAUI targets all of them. You are imagine running mobile-like applications on your desktop. That's just the major difference between both of them.
Awesome. So thanks for that again. I mean, so there's another question in the chat space, and maybe I could just key up that question with one of the things that I had seen recently. There was some kind of post where someone was saying that with the use of Rust and Python, programs like C# and C++, blah, 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 should be thrown into extinction. There's a similar question here, and the person is saying that with the current wave of Python and the inclusion of it in .NET framework, what do you think the future is like for C#? I know you had spoken to this a bit in the terms of it being built by Microsoft, but let us look at it outside of a Microsoft perspective. Let us look at it from a developer perspective. I mean, how do you think software engineers and developers will be looking at this from a future applicability viewpoint?
So just to understand your question,
yeah.
You are asking if since Python is now included in
exactly
Microsoft, okay. So let us say Python has its strengths again around mostly data science and machine learning. Let's just put it, because Python at some point would have been extinct if this didn't come into play. Now imagine now talking about C#. C# is definitely not going anywhere. I can say that for free. Integrating Python code with .NET means you are bringing the power of Python and combining it with C#. So it's more or less C# is integrating itself, or Python is integrating into C# to build more smart applications, in literal terms.
Got you. And thanks for that. And I want to hope that that sort of answers the question that Mikhail had put on the chat space. There's a question from Williams, and Williams is curious to understand what his journey could look like as he's currently building off Flutter, and he's trying to understand that if I want to go forward, if I want to go forward with C#, is there a way he could integrate both? What can it look like if he's trying to navigate from building apps with Flutter to building with C#?
All right, so like the question came up for Maui now. Flutter is just cross-platform targeting both Android and iOS. Eventually, you would want to migrate into writing desktop applications. Yeah, you want to write one code that targets all of them. You already have an idea of mobile app development. You already have an idea of maybe targeting the platform-specific code, like writing platform-specific code for either Android or iOS. Now, with C# and Maui, you have the ability to target an even larger platform, exposing your code to the desktop platforms, not just writing for Flutter and for iOS and Android using Flutter. Now, Flutter is I would say it's a relatively new language. So I want to believe strongly that there are a lot of things I might not be able to do with Flutter. You might disagree, but I would say there are a lot of things that I might not be able to do with Flutter, especially around developer support, community support. But C# already has this in place. There is nothing you want to do right now that you cannot do with C#. You have a problem trying to write maybe you're designing a mobile application with Xamarin Forms, and you want to integrate a particular component, maybe the map component, or maybe you want to integrate chatbots, or you want to integrate something. There's already a community of developers that have gone through that before, that are ready to provide support for you, extremely ready to provide support for you.
So if I hear you well, I mean, you're talking about, yes, the fact that there's an opportunity for you to leverage resources. There are more resources, and there's also a larger community,
Yes.
community base that people could leverage. Awesome. Thanks for that. So I do not see, so I mean, I think you mentioned this, but there's a question, not really a question, but it's more like a comment, and this is from Williams, who you just responded to their question. Williams is asking if you could share the sites again. I think I put one of them up there, but I think the sites here are in terms of the resources that people could leverage. I mean, I think you talked about the community and a C# community. So if you could just share the link to the sites again in the chat space, that'll be very helpful as well. I'm waiting to have more questions. And also, please, in case you don't want to type your question, you could raise your hand, and we are happy to give you the microphone so you could also put your question forward. Just looking through to see if there are additional questions from attendees.
Right, I'm putting some of those links on the chat. Like I said, you can visit plural sites. There's also LinkedIn Learning. You can leverage all those tools to those platforms to get what you need. There's also C# Corner. C# Corner has been in existence since probably 2001, thereabout, answering questions on C# alone. I know in the early years, I definitely relied on that. Even Stack Overflow, there's also Stack Overflow. So there, like I said, there are a lot of communities you would want to leverage on. They are currently available.
Awesome. Okay. I'm not sure if there are additional questions. Okay. Yeah, so probably we do not have additional questions. I think We might be finishing earlier today and giving time back to people, except if there are any other final thoughts from you, Joshua, that you probably want to share. Maybe a few more things that just came to mind and you had not shared before. Otherwise, we'll probably just go ahead and do a wrap up. So maybe I could give you some time back, Joshua, just in case there are still a few things you wanted to mention.
Okay, so like I want to reiterate on the fact of the future of C#. Earlier, and I mentioned Microsoft is deeply invested in the C#, and the foundation is deeply rooted in Microsoft. So Microsoft has a lot of interest. So what we have right now in C# 11 is definitely going to be better or a child's play compared to what is coming up in C# 12. We expect better functionality. We expect speed, more speed. We expect, again, easy to read code, a more easier way to read code, easier way to debug code. There are a lot of possibilities again in C#, and the future is only bright. It's totally bright.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing that with us, Joshua. And I think I personally also find it inspiring the way you mentioned. Okay, someone is just asking a very random question. They said, "What's your surname?"
My surname is Shoma.
Okay. Okay, all right then. I mean, yeah, so I mean it's been a very interesting time listening to you and also sharing your insights, sharing uh your story. I mean, yeah, and at the same time speaking to how we could how individuals could start their own journey and how they could also apply C#. I think there's a hand up before we round off things. I'm just probably going to give the microphone quickly to Lukman. I would assume that Lukman probably wants to ask a question, so I'm just going to give the microphone to Lukman quickly. Lukman, your hand was raised. Did you? It looks like you lowered your hand, so just to be sure, in case you changed your mind. Lukman, were you going to ask a question? Okay, so I'll just assume that Lukman probably changed their mind. All right. So, yes, we are going to make the recording available, William. So the recording we normally would put the recording on the ADC website, and I'm going to also put the link. There are a couple of links that are coming up right on the screen right now. The very first one is going to be the link to the meetup page. I'll just share the link to the ADC channel on YouTube, this is where we normally would put the recorded sessions. So here you go. Okay, so the next link I'm putting up here, I just dropped the link to the website, I mean to the channel on YouTube. The next thing I'm putting up here is our meetup page, and one of the things that we aim to do, or we try to do with the meetup page, is to create a community for everyone to come and share their ideas and also be part of our conversations. I mean, you have questions, you're trying to get progress with a project. It's really more around the community, and so the amazing part is that you'd always find people in the community will probably share your concerns or also share your interest in terms of skills that you're trying to develop, or maybe you might even be interested in collaborating with you with something you're trying to do. So the ask here is that you go to the link on the meetup page, And we also do put a number of updates there for opportunities that might be available at ADC, events that you could attend. Some of these events are in person, some of these events are virtual. And so it's more like a one-stop shop or one-stop place. So if you're not yet a member of our meetup community or meetup page, so please do that. There is also the hashtag that we normally would use for all of our series. I mean, for the ADC Learn series, and it's simply hashtag ADC Learn. So in case you're typing anything on LinkedIn, or you're trying to tell a story, please make use of that hashtag. You could also find the previous sessions, maybe articles and posts that people have written regarding the previous sessions on LinkedIn, just by searching with the hashtag. So that's also another tool that you could use. For people who had registered, you're also going to receive an email for those who marked to be contacted later. And so you'll receive an email, I mean, sort of pointing you to the registration link for the next channel, and also a small feedback form that you could fill. It's not compulsory. We encourage just that you kindly just fill the feedback form. The idea is for us to see how we could improve, what we could do better, and also what kind of feedback we could take from you to make sure that the next session or the next session we're going to be having is going to be fun. The good part about the next session we are having is that it's a bit more around for people who are also interested in how they apply some existing platforms, in building their solutions. If you're trying to transition into tech, or someone who wants to transition into tech, but they want to start from a very soft space. I mean, they want to start with low code and gradually now begin to move into the full aspect of coding. That's also a gradual way for them to transition and have that journey. So the next session is going to be looking at how enterprise solutions are being built, and you're also going to be listening to some of our advocates who are part of the next generation team at the ADC. You will receive a link in your email so that you could register for that. And at the same time, if you have any questions, you want to talk about the program, please drop it on LinkedIn. You also have my name. You could also reach out to me via LinkedIn. So once again, I would like to say thank you to our speaker today. Thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you for spending time with us. We do hope that, yes, I mean, it's been a session of high impact and also of high value to those people who have been able to attend. I'm also excited to have been able to moderate the 1 hour session today. Once again, my name is Babatunde Vaughn, and since I didn't do my accessibility introduction when we got started, I'm just going to round up with that. So yes, I'm a dark-skinned African man. I'm a program manager on the ecosystem development team, and it's been a great honor to actually moderate the session for this evening. So I wish you all a very beautiful weekend. Love to your loved ones and your families, and continue to be charms and amazing people that you are. And we hope again to see you next fortnight, which is going to be the 24th or 25th of November. Thank you once again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening.